Since we're nice and small, lean and mean today, for those of you who I have not met as of yet, my name is Chris Noman. I'm a newer member to the CSE community from the coaching side. Long time member of CSE community from the very beginning when Chirag called me in the spring of 2020 and said, "Do you think I should start a coaching company?" So Chirag has been my personal coach for 4 years. You can imagine how wild those conversations are, I'm sure. But now being part of the community, it's been great. I'm so excited because helping people grow their business is one of my favorite things. Peggy, great to see you yesterday. I got a chance. I was down in Westport at HQ for CSC and swung by the Compass office, and Peggy was in there. So it's great to see her in person.
It was great seeing you two and get a hug.
There was definitely a hug.
Right.
Absolutely. All right, so we're talking about sponsorships today, and as opposed to some type of deck or anything along those lines, uh, and we have a small little crew here with us, so let's keep it open-ended and have an overall conversation about it as well. I think that's a great way and some good business practices to hear from people. But what I'd love to start off with is, as opposed to getting sponsorships for your events, which I think is very important, we will talk about that. I want to kick off with you sponsoring something, right? As agents, we always get hit up for everything. Uh, every event, every charity, every town, rec department, events that are happening, they always reach out for sponsorships. I've been guilty of asking for these similar type of sponsorships as well. And how to evaluate what's going to be the best bang for your buck and what's the or return on investment. So I'll start it off with a few suggestions that I think should be included in these type of sponsorships. Is if, and we'll use some examples here. If the local, let's see, parent teacher association, like the local PTA reaches out to you for an event and says, we're doing this event for the organization and we'd love to have you sponsor. Would you be willing to do so? I'm not against something such as that. I think that that is a good use of your money, but with a caveat of don't let it be the only marketing piece that you release. Meaning, if an event that you are actually going to throw some money at, and that could be anywhere from, a $500 little business card size ad in the flyer that's going out with it, make sure that you are also layering in a marketing campaign to the people that would potentially be attending that event and or to the town or whatever your core market might be. As you put together that plan, we're talking about trying to be top of mind for anyone that would be attending the event and or anybody that has heard about the event or happened to get the media about the event coming your way. And great ways to do that are obviously print, which could be postcards. Secondary to that, or another version of that as well, should definitely be digital ads. And if anybody that watched Matt and Chirag's interview yesterday or on Tuesday, one of the things that Matt talked about was digital ads and using a wide net versus a very specific net and almost geo-farming, if you will, and going directly to a zip code. One of the best things to do is make sure, say the event is the 21st, so next Thursday, would be to launch your digital ads a week to 2 weeks prior, specifically to that group. So people start to see you, your business, what you're all about, and then that leads into the event, and then they start to see your name at the event, and then the digital ads come out after the fact, and then they get hit with a postcard, a Compass postcard of some kind, and it doesn't necessarily need to be that. It could also be a newspaper ad or local magazine ad, something along those lines where you're hitting people 2 to 3 times surrounded right around that event that you actually are throwing some sponsorship at. And that would be my event sponsorship suggestion. The second component would be We see a lot of big charity events that come and go, and potentially buying a table. I would leverage in if there is a charity and there is an event for that charity and you are very passionate about that, purchasing a table, a whole entire table versus just one or two tickets for yourself, and bring together some of your most important clients that you feel would benefit from also coming to that event and also meeting each other. It's a great quote unquote excuse to bring your clients together and get in front of them and also show that you're more than just a real estate agent as well. Those are value adds, but at the same time, same situation, right? Is you're sponsoring a table, make sure that you're also that is one part of a marketing campaign that you are also rolling out, because you want to be able to have that. Specifically, if you are sponsoring a table and you're bringing 12 guests together, making sure that you have their email addresses and then including them into your marketing campaign on the digital ad side, so they're continuously seeing their face, so that when the event actually happens, it's, oh my God, Chris, we see you everywhere. Like, I was reading ESPN this morning and your face kept popping up. Like, those type of conversations are a great, great, great way to help build your business and to be able to use that as a value add versus just throwing some money at putting your name in the little flyer pamphlet book that is going to have you in the corner along with everybody else that no one really ever reads. And I personally actually sit on the rec board commission for my town, so I know very well about these little ads and things that go out that we bring in sponsors on. And I always ask, hey, did anybody ever call you for that? 90% of the time, the answer is no, because someone feels that they should just be able to be part of a community and throw a little money at something and then add it towards their tax benefits of charity donations. What is any of us that are here on this call, the 18 of us, has anyone sponsored any of these type of events in the past? And have you ever seen any return on the investment from it? Peggy.
We had an event in Westport. I used to serve on the Westport Museum of History and Culture. And so I took out a table and I invited former clients and a few that are in my sphere. No, dog, sit down. Sorry. And sorry, how annoying right now. Anyways, and we had a grand time. It was a great dinner, a great dance, great celebration. But I haven't gotten any business from it. But I have seen one of the guests every time. I mean, she calls me, let's go out, and we'll go out for dinner. And she's always telling everyone about me, which is great. She's always saying, Peggy's the best agent, even though I haven't sold her house. I helped her find a great mortgage lender to work out refinancing so she could stay in her home. So that was a whole different perspective. So she shared that I was not a realtor just to make money, but to help her with her needs. What were her true needs? So it was interesting, really interesting how that turned around. But that was a sponsorship I had. The ads in brochures and booklets and journals, I could say I haven't, I can't really pinpoint a time that I've gotten business directly from that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me let this dog out.
Go ahead over there, Wendy. Talk to us.
So I apologize for being 5 minutes late. I didn't hear the first part that you said. I came in at the second part, but I do a lot of sponsorships, and I'm going to echo that same sentiment. When my kids were younger, I sponsored elementary school events, plays, elementary, middle school, and high school plays, all their athletic things that they're in. I live in that same community, so I have this huge community sense, but I don't see a direct. I remember one deal in 12 years that I have done consistent sponsorship for the schools and things that I do in the community, and I supplement them with the just sold. And I mean, and so I don't know what else I can do. And I know you talked about being on the board, but I don't think I have any more time for that. So, like,
It's true.
so, and now I have 2 kids going to college, so I'm like, "Phew, okay, only one," right? But so I don't know how to, I don't know if it's a branding or a messaging issue, but I do thousands of dollars of sponsorship per school, and I don't really see that much of a return. I do get feedback that, oh, Wendy's there, Wendy's everywhere. Yep, 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 yeah, Wendy, Wendy, Wendy. But I don't see a direct correlation and can only attribute one deal. It was $2 million, but one deal for the 10 plus years I've donated and sponsored.
Mhm. Mhm. I think I always relate sponsorships to just another way to stay top of mind, and it's really hard to track, right? Sponsoring charity events, etc. Unless you're going to have your name big in lights and whatnot, it is more branding. It's like having a billboard or a print ad somewhere, and unless someone tells you directly, like, "Hey, I saw your ad in the PTA or PTO flyer, it looks so great," something along those lines, you never really can attribute to, did you really truly see a return on the investment? But it sounds if that you're sponsoring a ton of things, and more than likely the reason that they say, oh, Wendy is everywhere, is what one of those parts or one of those layers to your marketing is having your name in certain places. Absolutely.
I just wish I was busier.
I got you on that one too. That's for sure. Anybody else? Anybody that's recently logged in, what we're talking about right now is yourself sponsoring anything and any direct correlation to return on that investment.
Oh, shoot.
It's all right, Donna. Don't get in an accident.
I don't think I jumped on late. I couldn't get on. I think I have the wrong topic. I thought you were talking about holding. Are you talking about holding events and things or just sponsorship?
We're about to get to that point. We're about to transition out of the classic, you get hit up because you're a real estate agent and they want you to donate money to put your business size card ad in the corner of the brochure, basically.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got the wrong. I thought you were talking about holding events, success rate holding events. Never mind.
No, we're going to hit that next as well. Okay. Absolutely.
Sorry.
Anybody else? So we'll transition into that. And so holding events and actually asking for sponsorships, right? We see a lot of this happen in the real estate world. Some of your sales meetings probably had sponsors from mortgage brokers on lunches and things of that nature. And very similarly, because I have this conversation often with a lot of attorney firms, or an attorney state here in Massachusetts, of return on investment, and have had pushbacks from attorneys and mortgage brokers in the past, in my former life as a sales manager, asking them to sponsor lunch or breakfast or whatever it might be on, I don't want to spend $1,000. It's just, I never really ever see anything out of those things. It goes back to exposure, really does, right? Nike doesn't put a billboard up on the side of the Merritt Parkway or on the side of the Mass Pike without thinking to themselves, how do we quantify return on investment here? They put it to stay top of mind, right? And that's the conversation that typically happens. When looking into sponsoring events or asking for someone to co-sponsor an event with you, right? Maybe that is a client event, is going to your go-tos is always the first thing, right? Is going to your attorney. If you're an attorney state and use attorneys, your mortgage brokers, most agents have one, maybe two mortgage brokers at the most that they refer all their business to. Those are the people that are willing to help out with you because they want to gain access to your client book of business to potentially be able to grow their own. And that's really where that leverage comes into play, is they want also the top of mind exposure. So delivering value for them and those type of events typically means that they want to be present, right? They want to be in the room. They want to have some type of print material or exposure from that aspect. What I have found that has historically worked very, very well for most sponsors who are willing to throw money at an event is to give them the floor. Now, if that means that they have a microphone in their hand and they get a chance to talk about their profession and what they can offer and thank everybody for coming, something along those lines. That's great. If you can put a great topic together, like we see in the real estate industry, first time home buyer seminars, having them come in to talk about the landscape of what they're seeing, what their services can provide for buyers, etc. We got to find that value on the need to be able to give to them, to be able to expose them to more people. And that's ultimately what it boils down to. And once you can identify the value from that aspect, from the vendors that you have used or use consistently, that's where you'll actually see sponsorship come in, where they say, yeah, no, I will 100% do that. And there's some caveats to this. So obviously, we got to make sure that the IRS and everybody we live really above board. And one of the things from that sponsorship component is they can't pay you, and then you turn around and pay all the vendors for the space, etc. It's identifying, what makes sense. So if you are renting a space to hold an event in, they need to be able to pay the event space directly. Otherwise, you start getting into RESPA situations, and the last thing you need is one of your vendors paying you directly, and then you turning around and paying for the event with the funds that they had given you. Everybody's violating everything at that point. People who I feel are really good for these things are obviously mortgage brokers, title companies, handymen, painters, builders. Building an event that actually can hold some value, where they actually get a chance to talk and speak, are great. Maybe there is some additional pieces there. There's a great painter here locally that a lot of agents use. And when Concierge got released here by Compass, he ended up having to actually grow his business and hire a complete separate crew, because most real estate agents only call a painter when either A, they need an entire house painted. That's first and foremost. And then, or B, there's a water stain on the wall, on the ceiling that happened from a leak 5 years ago that the sellers never decided to actually paint. And you got to bring them in, and it's like an hour's worth of work and only a few $100s. So the painter had started to do a lot of these side jobs for a lot of agents, and then turned around and said, I can't keep taking my crew who are painting the interior of entire houses or the exterior of entire houses off to go drive 45 minutes to paint one wall that happens to be purple that now needs to go back to gray because that's what the agent wants. So he started to bring in a few different people, and he hired a small project crew because of Concierge and because of agents saying, hey, I need this done. And that crew actually started to generate almost as much money and revenue for him as did his crew that was handling big jobs. So for him, he sponsored a lot of events and coming in and talked about the value of what a freshly painted home can do in the resale of homes. So part of what a few agents have recently started is first-time seller seminars. We always talk about buyer seminars. No one ever hosts a first-time seller seminar. Like, who are the families in your book of business who bought, or couples or individual who bought a starter home, and now they're starting to grow out of that space and they need to sell it, but they've never sold a piece of property before. It's a great event to hold and gain a lot of sponsorship for, because you can now bring in staging companies, painters, plumbers, home inspectors, different aspects of what you would do on a day-to-day basis with your vendors to be able to prep a home for sale.
Can I ask a question, Chris?
Yeah.
Many of the people I talk to are millennial Gen Zs, and they think they know everything. So how do we, how do we, well, like I've held a few seminars in the past, and I just don't have a lot of attendees. And again, I'm in the Silicon Valley in California, and it's a little different than the rest of the country. We are our own anomaly, but there's just a lot of know-it-alls. So for me to bring in an expert, how can I parlay what you're telling me into actionable items to get past the ego of that generation or that span of sellers,
Mhm.
which to me would be first time sellers at that age group, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Question for you, just because of location, how's the back to office out there for the companies of these millennials? Or is everybody working from home?
Oh, when I talk with them, there's mandating, not everybody's working from home, but they go back 2 to 3 days a week. But
Yep.
there are some companies, the bigger the company is, they're allowing like 3 days at work, 2 days
Mhm.
home. The
Mhm.
smaller the company is, I've noticed that they're like, hey, I really need you to come in. We got to crank out. So,
Yep.
but different people work for different companies, right? So
So,
nobody's
most success. Yeah, no, fully. We all understand that as agents, right? Although at the same time, not as many deals happen in your fluffy slippers sitting at your kitchen island as they would if everybody was in the office at the same
hey, I'm
time.
in my fluffy slippers now.
There was a shot at the dark that somebody was in fluffy slippers, so I just threw it out there. Here's a great suggestion for you. So, a financial advisor I know meets with a lot of startup companies through their HR department to go in and talk about what 401ks look like, other investments, but he also always brings in a vendor of some kind, and he actually leverages pretty heavily into a realtor just for that exact reason. You have a lot of younger people that are either entering that rental market, or they're going into the buyer side of things, or maybe they bought their first condo one bed and they got married and they're expecting their first and they need to move. How do we do it? Like, where do we put the extra funds and the money that we make? So he's done these little events, and this is pre-COVID that he was doing them, and he actually just called because he wants to start doing them again. He would get 20 or 30 people at a lunchtime event in the big conference room. So thinking about it from that aspect and leveraging the back to office, my suggestion would be is if you have certain people in your client book, right, that you're thinking that could be first time home buyers, is finding out where they work, and then seeing if you can get a contact to their HR department to say, I'd love to host a first time home buyer seminar for your office. I'd love to do it at lunchtime. And what's your bring back to office policy, and what are you pushing, and how can I help to bring more people into the office that day?
I love
Right?
that. Thank you.
Take that angle, and now you're actually present in their office, so they're not traveling to another location after work. They're actually in the office, and you could do a breakfast, or you could do before the workday starts, or you could do a lunch, or maybe you do the tail end happy hour on a Thursday type of event, right? Think about what your particular offices at Compass are doing to try and bring you in, and use that same game script, but flip it and bring it into where your clients are. So you're going to them versus them coming to you. Love
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, no worries. Anybody else have some great success stories on sponsorships or have any questions? Don't be so quiet.
I'm planning one.
Good. Talk to us. What are you planning?
I'm a former teacher, and we used to always have these great TGIF celebrations. And I've talked to a lot of my former colleagues. The school is only about 15 minutes from my office, from our Compass office. And so what I'd like to do is a TGIF with music. Not a DJ. We have a great sound system in our office, and Compass is trying to encourage all of us to bring your friends, bring parties, celebrations to the office. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, I'll just have some simple apps, get a bartender, and put some music on, because teachers love to party. And when I was
True.
teaching, we loved when parents would bring in food for us, after school or during lunch. Any of you that have children or in schools, I think it's great to get your face in there. Teachers, parents that had side businesses, they would drop off trays of food, catering, whatever, with their cards. It's a soft way of getting in. So this is one of the events I'm planning in our office. And then another big one with Chirag and his great space
He does
at
love
night.
that space. It's good.
Yeah,
That's a great one for any event. Anybody that happens to be in the Westport, Connecticut type of area.
New York, get on the
definitely,
train. It's only a few
yeah,
blocks from the train station. Come on.
it's true. And reach out to Chirag and ask about utilizing his space for a client event or something along those lines.
Right.
You are part of the community and we share everything here. So definitely do that. No question about it.
So I want to share an aha moment.
Please.
From listening to you and you telling us how to make sponsorships for us beneficial of having a marketing campaign about not just showing up, that when we're asking for sponsorships, maybe or people saying that it didn't work for them, then we can share with them the same information. That helping them to realize it's just showing up this one time or two times is not going to necessarily bring in business directly, that you need to have a follow-up system. And it's not necessarily my fault as hosting this event or whatever the organization is preventing you from getting business. So just share that information with them.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a big win. No question, hands down. And including them in your follow-up and giving them the names and email contact information of the people that show up to the event so that they can do the same. And a lot of vendors, especially on the tradesman side of things, they don't really have a good follow-up system in place and whatnot. So saying to them, hey, help me sponsor this, and then I'll include you in my digital ads, my follow-ups, and those type of things is a great aspect to do. Especially great because how many of us have seen and or have done prepping your house for sale in the spring social media posts, right? Like, here's the 5 best things: landscaping, curb appeal, those type of things. Include your landscaper that you would go to in that. Include your painter that could potentially be part of that, your cleaning companies, your HVAC system company, whatever that might be, because as you are advertising them, it also shows your value, right? It's very similar to Peggy including that client with hooking her up with the mortgage broker just to get to that point. But actually advertising for your vendors, that core vendor group that you use every single day, will 99% almost guarantee that they will be willing to help you when you want to throw an event and also be present at the same time. But we are at time, and I know that Wendy and Chirag have some things happening here to talk about the next stages of revenue roadmap. So hopefully the sponsorship conversation worked well for you this morning. Feel free to obviously rewatch and watch it again. But if you haven't done a first time homes buyer seminar, someone please do it for me, because I'm not, in full disclosure, I will be doing one for myself here pretty soon as well. So I'll let you guys know how it goes and what I use to put it together. But no one ever does that in the real estate industry. They're so concentrated on the buyers, but they don't think through, wait a minute, what about all these starter homes that are in my core market? Somebody out of this home needs to sell. Chad's going to steal all my ideas. You can see him logging in on the back and bottom corner. He's in the Boston office with me. But all right, well, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you guys have a great call, and feel free to reach out to me with any questions. All right. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.